Hey guys, Trevor Morris here. Welcome to Ask Me Anything.
Trevor Morris, how you doing, man? Little question for your AMA. I want to first take this opportunity to say happy birthday. This is a big one for you. Love you, man. We've been friends for a good while now, and I am so thrilled to help you celebrate your birthday. Which brings me to my question of sorts. It's sort of like a life balance question. So years ago, I was at your studio mixing a game, and then we ended up becoming really close friends on the golf course. We talked a lot about life balance stuff, and I think it'd be really useful for other composers and fans to understand how stressful this job can be to write music for media, and what you might have to say about work-life balance. I know you're really good at it. Like, I've learned so much just watching you. You are, you hit the big 5-0, but you know what? I'm always gonna be your elder. So do what I say. Have a great birthday, and I'll see you on the golf course.
Thanks, Jack, for one of the hardest questions I've ever been asked. For those of you who don't know who Jack Wall is, he's just a supremely talented legendary video game composer, television film composer, and good friend. Work-life balance, huh? That spiny little creature of a term. I personally think it's the worst way to express the idea that we're looking for balance, like as if it's only work or only life. But I will say this, there's a lot to this subject. I think that it's, for me, work-life balance has three elements to it. One is that it's a spectrum. It's not a either or, you know what I mean? I think there's a time horizon to the idea of work-life balance, where you are in what stage of your life. And I think it's deeply personal. I think what works for me doesn't and shouldn't work for you. And I think the idea of looking external to find work-life balance is a really bad idea. It's the whole thing that social media is starting to expose, which is that people who work a job that they truly hate to buy shit they don't need, to impress people they don't even know or like, that cycle has just got to go. That's a recipe for disaster. We're lucky enough to be in a profession that we actually love to do. And we all know that the whole idea of do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life is total bullshit too, right? You work your ass off, but you love it, you know what I mean? The famous Jim Carrey quote, which is, you might fail at the thing that you hate, so why not try the thing that you love? Which is why I encourage people to follow their dreams. Anyway, back to work-life balance. I think that work is work, and it has a lot to it, whether it be just the financial need to provide for yourself or your family. If you love your work like I do, it's exciting. I love coming in this room every day. But life isn't just one word. It's life. It's you. It's the balance of how you eat, your intellectual needs, your emotional needs, your physical needs, certainly your mental state of mind, stress, pressure. Like life it's a multi-component part of it. So it's not just I'm at working or I'm not at work. That binary thinking, I think, is what gets this term in trouble. I think that the one thing I know for sure that I have learned is that if you don't design a plan for your work-life balance, then someone else will design it for you. That's just the way it works, especially if you work for the man, where you're in that kind of a corporate environment where even if it's a good corporate environment and it's a happy place and it's a positive company, they're going to try to work you as hard as they can. That's what corporations do. It's benevolent. It just is. So if you don't design your idea of what works for you for balance, then they will design it for you. It may mean getting up earlier to get, say, physical exercise done. There may be some discipline in it. For me personally, when I entered the workforce, I was 19. I was in Toronto. I went to the recording studio scene, and I came out at 29. And in those 10 years, I worked 20 years of hours, and I loved every single minute of it. My work-life balance was all work and all growing up in the business and cutting my teeth in this exciting world of the recording studio and then becoming a jingle composer. And I didn't care. I didn't have that many girlfriends. It didn't interest me at the time. I was so into what I was doing. So in the time horizon thing that I mentioned, at that time in my early 20s, really, all that mattered to me was getting up, being completely immersed in the music and technology and recording studio and compositional world, having drinks with my buddies afterward, and going home and ordering pizza and going to bed. That was life enough for me at 21. In my 30s, I moved to LA. I wasn't in a relationship, and I threw myself into a job working for another composer for 5 years. And at that point, I was starting to desire more work-life balance because I had given most of my life at this point to my job. But this was the ultimate no balance job. But I knew going in that I told myself, and this is why it's personal to me, that I would do, when I moved to LA, I would do whatever it takes. The reason I moved here was to try to pursue the dream of maybe having the possibility of the conversation of hopefully talking about having a career to call my own. And if it didn't work out, at least I would die trying, which I nearly did. But personal to me, I said, I will do whatever it takes. And for 5 years, I did that to the expense of my life and my friends, even my family, you know? So there was definitely an imbalance to that, but it was what I decided to do. And, you know, Jack Wall very graciously compliments me today on my work-life balance, but it took me 20 years and 40 years of hours of working to get to the place where I have the control that I want to be a father and be present in their lives. I know some guys in my profession that are roughly my age whose kids are off in college right now, and I salute you guys. I don't know how you kept that shit together. But that was personal to you, or you had a great wife or a great husband to support you, or whatever your situation is, you know? This is a demanding career, and it's sort of, I mean, I'm sure all careers are, but it's can be unrelenting. So you have to find your way. The one thing I will say that I've learned is, and I think we all aspire to this, but actually very few of us do it, is to live in the moment, to live in the precious moment that is right now. And part of the term that I've learned that I use in my head, which is be where your feet are. If you're at work and you're in a spotting session, be there. Don't be thinking about your kids. Don't be thinking about your wife. Don't be thinking about, you know, the next project. Be present. Get all you can out of the situation that you're in. And then when you're out, leave that behind. When you go home, don't bring your work home with you if you can avoid it. Try to be present. Be where you are. It's a discipline. It's a choice. It's harder than it seems. But once you get into the attitude of being, I will be where my feet are, and there's a time to dream and a time to plan and all that stuff. Of course, I'm talking about the execution of your day, is to come in the studio. In my case, I drive my kids to school. I hit the gym or whatever. When I come in the studio, that's where I am. And I guard against all artificial interruptions, the FedEx man, everything, to be present with my music and give myself that bubble of time to compose. And then when I take a break, I'm okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to be? And that level of multitasking, I sucked at when I was young. I could barely do one thing at once, let alone five. And as you get older, you just realize that if you want to start a family, it's incredibly hard to be in the position to be in a family if you don't have a support system, that kind of thing. So I think being where your feet is a great way to think about it. And I think, again, work-life balance isn't binary. I think you need to understand what it means to you, that you really need to have deep emotional conversations or deep intellectual conversations or exercise or, redesign the way that you eat to feel better or time to just play your instrument or time to walk your dog. I don't know. It's the great thing about it is because it's personal to you, you don't need to explain it to anybody. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to work for anybody else but you. But I think if you don't design it and it evolves over time and there is a spectrum to it, if you don't design it yourself, then it's not going to magically come to you. For me right now, I'm incredibly scheduled. That's what makes my life work. Which is the polar opposite when I was young. When I was young, I just went with it. Whatever happened, happened. I didn't need to be anywhere. I'd stay up till 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. Now I get up at 5 a.m. and I have my day fairly scheduled up. That allows me to be, my feet to be where they need to be when they need to be there, if that makes sense. So listen, I do not profess to have the answer to this lifelong conundrum other than to say I found that what works for me is understanding first what gives you balance and then making little changes, like the little, you course correct the boat a couple degrees, and over the course of a couple years, you're in a different place kind of metaphor. That euphemism works because you may say, okay, right now, I don't have any time for this area of my life. So I'm going to make conscious choices to try to get there. And you won't get there immediately, and it may take days or weeks or months or decades, I don't know. But understanding that it's important to you is what matters. So that's what I would say. And by the way, if you had a rough week or a rough month or you're out of balance, what I would say is pat yourself on the back and say, dude, dudette, you tried. We're trying. We're working on it. You want to give everything your all the time, but you can't have nothing left for yourself. Otherwise, you'll burn out. So that's my best way to answer that question. And I would love to have all your comments below on what you interpret this crazy term. We got to find a better term than work-life balance. Maybe it's like harmony or something. I want to hear your comments on what you do to help balance your life when it's tough. Like I said, if you have no work, life's easy. If you have, or the opposite. But we all want to do the best we can in all these areas of our life. And I think the best thing we can do is just be honest with ourselves and what we need and express that to ourselves and our loved ones and just make little changes toward that. It may mean sacrificing something else. That's okay. If it's important to you to find time to go to the golf course once a week or take time to, learn a new instrument or a new language, then you just got to find the time for it, and sleep a little less maybe. I don't know. Anyway, babbling on for an incredibly hard question, probably the hardest question I've ever been asked. I'm flattered that Jack thinks I'm great at it. I certainly am aware of it. I do my best. I don't always succeed, but I try to be where my feet are. So, all right, guys, please post your comments below. I really want to hear what you have to say about this one. And if you got any value out of this, then obviously hit like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me too. All right, guys, peace out and ask me anything.